Yeah, so that's basically a reference OS which is present. So if you want, you can refer to this reference OS for any changes. So ping the username and password. You can use it in case you need that.
I'm sorry, this is George. What do we have to use it for?
No, like in that I have already done all the labs. So whatever labs are there, those are completed. So in case like if you have any confusion while working on the labs and you want to refer something, so you can refer to that ORS and see like how it is done.
Oh, so we can access this ORS to verify if we did the correctly?
Yeah, correct. That's correct.
Okay, so can you show us again how to go there? Because right
Yeah,
now the only ORS I can see is mine, right?
yeah, correct. So I have pinged my username and password. So you need to use this. Vinay S is the username and password. So if you use that, you will see a reference underscore ORS.
Oh, okay, so we have to log on to MDM
Yeah,
with
correct.
the
So
ID and a password. There's no
yes,
way. There's no way from here to go there.
yes, there is no way. Means if you want, like, for example, this is your ORS in which you are working currently. So on the down, as of now, like I am logged in using an admin user. So if you want, you can just click on this admin or your username, and
Right.
here you can enter my username and password. Then it will
Oh,
show you my ORS name. So you don't need to close and open it again. You just change the user here, and you can access my ORS, or you can open a separate session also. Both are fine.
can we open two
Yeah,
sessions
yes,
of
yes. You
MDM?
can. Yeah, correct. You can open multiple sessions of MDM. There is no problem.
Okay. I also have some questions. I start doing the lab and have some questions about more about like the navigation and the tool itself rather than theory. So I don't know when you want to discuss that.
Okay, we'll discuss that. So you can tell me what you exactly want to know.
Um, well, okay. So as you remember yesterday, I had an issue with actually being able to edit anything, and
Yes,
I don't remember if you told us about this, because a lot of things you tell uh, that maybe not completely clicked in my mind and I forgot. But this option,
yeah.
uh,
On the top
right lock
we have,
option.
yeah.
So
So
what is it?
that is for editing purpose. If you want to edit something, you need to take a lock before you can edit it. So usually these are the two options: acquire lock and acquire exclusive lock. If you take an acquired lock, means this is a session level. MDM is session level, so multiple people can open MDM. They can take an acquired lock and they can work on it. But if you take acquire exclusive lock on your ORS, then only you will be working. So see, as of now, only you are seeing and working on your ORS. But like in the development environment, there will be multiple people who might be working. So everyone can take an acquire lock and work on the same ORS. But if you take an acquire exclusive lock, then only you will be able to work. No one will be able to take a lock and work on that. And this is the release where you can release the lock. If you don't want to do any editing and your editing changes are done, you can release the lock. So as of now, like it is not taken, so I will not be able to edit it. Once I take a lock, then I will be able to edit and hear something.
Um,
So that is a mandatory step if you want to do any changes in the MDM console.
okay. Right now, I see in my session, I see that the only option I have is acquire exclusive lock or release lock. But the clear lock is grayed out, and acquire lock because that's what I'm probably using. Acquire lock.
Yes, yeah, correct. You are using it, that is why it is great out.
Okay, so what is the clear lock?
Clear lock, like in case already someone has taken the lock and you are not able to work on that. in that case, admin can use a clear lock. So that's with the admin, like whoever is the admin user, he can clear the lock, means everyone who has taken the lock will be released from them. So they will not be able to edit that anything. So that is basically clear lock. And release lock is for you. Clear lock is like an admin can clear the lock of all the users.
I see. Okay. Next question was, when I imported the definitions of table definitions, and
Yes.
I was trying to make changes in data type. So when I change the data type from char to varchar, it's immediately changed the length to 50.
Yeah, that is a by default. Like whenever you go and add any column, like if I come here and try to add something, by default it is a varchar, and you can see if I am clicking on the add button, it is a varchar and 50. So you need to modify it. If you need less or more, you can change the value here directly.
I understand, but like when I imported it with the correct length, almost correct length for almost all columns. But then when I changed it from char to varchar, then all the lengths was changed to 50, and I had to go through each of them to make a change. If there's a way to
no, that is a default. No, like here, for example, it is a varchar. By default is 50. So they have given some fixed length. If I select a char, it will become 14. So by default, these are the values. If you want to modify them, you can modify them later. And like if you are working on the lab, as a part of lab, what they have done is they have asked you to import from a temporary table, and in the temporary tables, it is like character or it is varchar, and they will ask you to convert it. This is just to tell you that once you import any column, you can change the definition of the column. Just for that, just to tell you that you can do it even after importing it. Here you can modify. If it is a character, you can make it as a varchar or number also. So just to explain that part, they have asked you to do that.
I understand. I just it was not very logical to me why it forcing me to change it. Like
usually it is not required, but just for the training purpose they have asked, so that we know that when after importing.
If I change one column, I will have to change all other, like the values in another. That's what I didn't like. So anyway, okay. So there's a.
Yeah.
Are you saying there's a way to do that or not?
Sorry, way to do this means if you are changing one column, only one column will change, not other columns.
No, what I said is I imported the definition from existing table, right?
Yes, correct.
Although all those definitions came as a char, not varchar, but as a char, but with the correct length. So I wanted to save the lengths. I wanted just to change the data type, but it doesn't do that. As soon as I change the data type, it changes the lengths, and it forces me to change the lengths again. So that's what
that's a default functionality, so that we have to do manually.
Okay. Just want to confirm this because sometimes I'm not sure if I'm doing something correctly. And another thing is, when I import those definitions, and some definition may not exactly, like the name, not exactly the way it's per requirement. So as soon as I imported it, like for example, for address, there was a address line 1 that in requirement I have to change it like address line 1. But when I imported it, came as an address line. That's it, without 1. So there's no way, as you said, there's no way to change the name. I thought that until you save it, you can change the name. But even if I didn't save it, it still doesn't allow me to change it. So I have to create it manually.
No, see, unless you have saved it, like there is a new column I am creating. If I want, I can put anything here. I am just putting here any physical name, and I can change this physical name anytime. I can change the display name also here. So this I can do multiple times unless I have saved it. But For the above rows, for example, these are already saved, so I cannot edit them. I can but modify the display names, not the physical names. So you cannot change the physical names, you cannot change the data type of a column.
Right.
And also you cannot decrease the length of a column, you can only increase the length of the column. So these
Right.
are the
I saw that, but I was talking about import. So I imported those columns from the table. So
yes.
when you import it,
modify that.
does it automatically save it?
No, it doesn't save it. Once you import, it will be like if I added the column, it is like non-saved column. So you can modify that column once you have modified that column, and then you can go and click on the save button.
That's what I did not see. I imported it and I did import it. I did imported it, and when I imported it and I tried to make changes, it didn't allow me to make changes in the name. I don't believe I said.
I can just show you one. So I'm again trying to import the columns. So for example, I'm just importing these two columns here.
Mm-hmm.
So once I've imported this column, the physical name is there and the characters are there. So if I want to modify this like customer ID, I can modify from customer ID to customer. I can change this also country code to country. So unless you have saved it, you can make the changes. You can change the data types also.
Okay.
So
okay.
unless you have saved it, you can make a change. But in case you have saved it, you will not be able to make it.
Display name. Display name. Can I change the display name?
Yeah. Display name even you can change once you have saved it.
Huh. Okay. Maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I did. I don't remember if I've said it. I don't think so. Okay. Another thing about the moving the columns, like moving them up and down. So it looks like we can move only one column at a time, right?
Yes, correct. Only one column at a time.
And there's no way to move multiple columns.
Yeah, correct. One by one we have to do.
Okay, so in order for me to move, like let's say I created a new column. If I wanted to put it in the very beginning, do I have to click on it several times to move it one at a time? If that's how it's done?
You have to click, see what you might have done, you might have clicked here on the like at the end, and then you might have clicked on the add button, so it will add at the end. If you want like in the second line.
Now I want this new column to be in the first position.
Yeah, that is what I'm saying. I'm saying that if you have to put it on the second row, then you should click on here and then click on the add button. It will create on the top.
Okay.
So like this, wherever you want to create, you can just click on the above and click on the add button. It will create just next to it. But if you have already created it, you will need to move it using this arrow button. You need to move it up like one by one by clicking every time.
Yeah, because otherwise you have to click every time you want to move it. That was kind of annoying for me. Okay, and the last question for now. It's every time we create the base object, it tells us to enable history option.
No, it doesn't ask. That is not a mandatory thing. It is on us, like on the business.
Switch on. It says switch on.
Then
does it mean we have to enable it?
Yeah, this is the history option, which is under the basic. So if you want to enable the history, then only it is required. So not for all the tables, but yes, for the business tables, customer address, we usually enable the history.
So what does it mean enable the history? Is it?
Yeah, that enable history basically will discuss about it. It creates some two tables, history tables are there, which it creates. So any changes to the base object, it will maintain in the history tables. So it's just maintaining the changes to the data in the history table.
Is it different from maintaining the history in the reference table?
Yeah, it's the same thing. Like because the base object contains the latest data. Whatever is the latest data that has come from a source will appear in your base object. But if you make changes, at least the history table will maintain all the history information about the changes of that particular record.
About changes of the data.
Yeah, changes in the data that you can track in the history table.
Okay, but I thought for the base tables, all the records that are the new records that come in or any changes that come in, they are going to this reference table.
Reference table in the sense, which table you are asking, telling about a reference table?
Well, we have a base table, we have a reference table, right?
Yeah, there is a cross-reference table, yeah, correct.
Oh, so that's a cross-reference table.
But the cross-reference table also maintains the latest information. It doesn't maintain old data. So whatever the latest information that has come from a source, it will be maintained in the cross-reference. So even the cross-reference gets changed because multiple times we are getting an update for a particular record. So that informations are maintained in the history table.
Okay. Okay, that's all for now. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so we'll just quickly go through. Anyone has any other questions? Okay, so we'll just quickly go through like what we have discussed yesterday. So we had started with the trust part. That first thing is, why do we need trust in the MDM side? Trust is required in case we are getting data for a particular column from more than one system. In those cases, we need to apply trust. So that we can easily identify by looking at the source data, like for a particular column, how many sources are giving me the data. So once it is identified, we can inform the business to give us a trust value. Or if they don't provide a trust value, they have to give an ordering that for each and every column, which system looks more trusted. So for that, in MDM, we will be giving numbers, maximum number and the minimum number, to tell MDM which system is more trusted. And then there is a decay period. So we say that data has a life of its own and it keeps on changing. So business basically can analyze their data, that how frequently updates are happening in their system, like updates to the email addresses, updates to the address. So based on that, they can give a general figure that in my system, like email address is changing every 1 year, or people are changing their addresses every 3 years. So that's a decay period that we need to specify, and this is a mandatory one. So decay period, what it does, it will reduce your maximum trust to minimum trust. So in this case, like we have SFA 90 and 30, which is maximum and minimum. So on the first day when the record is loaded, like email address, if I am loading an email address today from SFA system, the trust will be 90. And going forward, at the end of 1 year, it keeps decreasing, and at the end, it will be like 30. So that's basically a trust decay and rate. And then the validation rule. So validation rule is basically used to downgrade the trust. This we have to use in case we know that there are possible scenarios where I might get a wrong data. So in this case, we have to downgrade the trust. And downgrade is required so that the other source system value should be the surviving one, because probably it is giving me a correct data. So these are things that we have to apply, use, and trust is that we had seen is used in only 2 scenarios. One is like an merge scenario when basically 2 records are merged. So this is what slide like we had seen yesterday.
Oh, once again about the previous slide. About the decay of email.
Yes, tell me.
So if the decay is 1 year, that means like every 1 year the email should be updated, or is there anything which needs to be updated?
No, it is not. It is like just the decay they have put so that in case, for example, you have updated your email address in a bank. So they have put a decay period of 1 year. So this is put because tomorrow if you go again and say I have updated my email address again, so the new email address should get inserted into the base object or should get promoted into the base object. That is the main reason of using this trust. Sorry, decay period. So today if you are loading the data like it is 90, tomorrow suppose because of the decay it is 89, and tomorrow you are going and updating that my email address is changed. So what happens that when you are loading, means updating your email address tomorrow, it will be 90 and the older record will be 89. So it will get promoted into the master record. So just for that reason, that if some update is coming from a source, new update is coming, it expects that this is the latest record or a new record, or it should be means the correct record, and that should get promoted into the base object. So that is the main reason of this decay.
So suppose the decay period for the email is 10 years. So after 1 year, it will be almost 90 only, right? Because we have kept it as 10 years. So after 1 year, if I go and do the source update, so will the email address will not get updated if I change it?
Yeah, it will get updated. We'll discuss that. There is it doesn't depend only on the trust part. There is a survivorship and order of precedence in MDM, which takes 4 things into consideration. So based on that, so as of now, because we are discussing trust, so I'm just saying that based on trust. There are other scenarios also when like the trust might be same. In those cases, what will happen? So that we'll discuss later. So we have to provide this decay period even if we know that that is a static column like names or for example salutation. So we know that these are never going to change, but still we have to give something. Maybe we give long 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, but something we have to give. And then the trust part. So when it is used, it is basically used when we are merging 2 records. So when you have loaded like 2 records into the MDM, and when you run the match process, so based on the match rule that you have specified, MDM will identify like these 2 records are duplicate. So these 2 records can be from the same system or it can be from the different systems also. So MDM will calculate the trust and validation based on whatever values we have provided. And finally, like whatever is the value, based on that, it will promote the record into the master record. So initially in your base object, 2 records will be there. And once I merge them, only 1 record will be there in your base object. 1 record will be deleted from your base object. Because that is the main purpose, keeping the unique records into the table and deleting the duplicate records. And the second scenario was an update scenario. So when an update comes from a source system, so I have this record like the same record, previous record, and now I am sending an update to the same record. So when I send an update, again MDM will calculate the trust and validation, and based on that, the final trust score will be calculated. If the incoming record is more trusted, then only it will get promoted into the base object. If it is not trusted, it will not get promoted into the base object level. So like in this scenario, name was more trusted, so it got promoted into the base object, but phone number is not trusted, so that is why it didn't got promoted at the base object level. So these are the 2 scenarios only when the trust and validation are applied. And in those scenarios where we don't have trust at all, in this case, whenever I get an update, it will always get promoted into the base object, because now MDM doesn't have anything to check, because trust is not applied means I am getting data only from one source system. So whenever I am getting an update, whatever value it might be, it will insert into the base object level. And so this was like from here, and from MDM side, like we had seen that how to enable the trust. So we need to go to a particular base object, like for example customer base object, and under the customer base object we need to select the columns. So in this case, like I have selected 5 columns here from full name till the name generation column. And these are the 5 columns which I am getting from multiple systems. And out of those systems only, some columns I have selected for validation. Because say whatever columns you have selected for trust, only those columns you can select for validation, because validation is just used to downgrade the trust. And if there is no trust on the column, there is no use of validation. Second thing is, it is not important. Here you can say that for the first name column, full name column, there is no validate. That is because probably I am concatenating the first name, middle name and last name and passing it into the full name column. I'm just saying about one scenario. So probably I don't need to validate a full name column. I don't want to reduce the full name column. So that is might be one of the reasons. So it is not mandatory to validate, or suppose maximum you can validate about the full name or the first name is like it is null or not null. So we know that from whichever source I am getting the data, in their forms, first name and the last name is already a mandatory column, so they cannot have a null value. So there is no need for any validation from our side also. So if it is required, then only we will select it, otherwise not required. So once you have selected this trust and validation, you will see that particular base object coming here under the trust. The base object will come and all the columns will come here. Whatever columns I have selected for trust will come here. And here I will have an admin system which will be there by default, and we have CRM and the sales system which will come here. So we have discussed about these things here, like the maximum trust, minimum trust, the decay period and the graph type. Like 3 types of graph types are there: slow initial, rapid later, rapid initial, slow later and the linear. So usually we use the first one, slow initial, rapid later. So these are the things we had discussed yesterday. One more thing I will like to tell you here is, if I go to the system, you see how many systems are listed here: admin system, CRM system, sales system and a test system. So I have, other than the admin system, I have 3 systems which are listed here. But for the first name, I am seeing only sales system and the CRM system, not the test system. If I go to the full name column, you see CRM is coming, sales is coming and also test is coming. Probably like full name column I am getting from all the 3 systems. First name I am getting only from 2 systems. But how this is coming? How it knows that full name, for full name only CRM and sales should come, or for the full name all the 3 systems should come? So this is based on your staging table. So this value, sales, CRM, test, this will come only when you have created your staging tables. Just by creating a base object, like for example you have created a customer base object and you have enabled the trust. If you come here, you will see no systems are available, only admin system will be there. So once you go back and create a staging table, then only these things will come. So let me show you the staging table here. See, this is the second one. This is a staging table of the test system. In this, I have selected only one column, full name. I have not selected any other column. That is why for the full name, test system is coming. But for the CRM system, all the columns are selected here. For the sales systems also, I have selected all the columns. So that is the main reason of why the records are coming there. So if you have not created a staging table, you won't see that source system name coming there. So that's basically from the trust part. And the next is the validation rules. So validation rule has to be set up under a particular base object itself. Hi Suresh, can you please mute yourself? Thanks. So now this is the place under a base object itself I need to come and do the validation. So for the validation, here we'll come and do a right click. We'll get this option as add validation rule. So there are some 5 types of validation rules which are there. Starting with the existence check. So these are the 5 rules: existence, domain, differential integrity, pattern and the custom. So if you click on any rule like the existence check, you can see the query on the down. The existence check is basically where this is the column name. So where column name is null or is not null. So existence check basically just check this part, whether it is a null value or it is a not null value. The next thing here is you can see all the columns are coming here, all the columns from my base object. See, I have enabled trust or I have enabled validation. I have enabled trust for 5 columns and I have enabled validation for only 4 columns. But here I am seeing all the columns. So here this is correct because you can reduce the trust. It is not specific that if I have to reduce the first name, only first name is null, then only I can reduce the first name. I can reduce it by any other column also, depending on the requirement type. Suppose name generation. If name generation is null, I want to downgrade the first name. That might be a business requirement. So validation, this rule can be based on any column of a base object. So I can say that if name generation is null or not null, these two options are there. So I will select like is null. If the name generation is null, you can downgrade a single column. Like here you can see first name is coming. So you can downgrade first name column, or if you click on the edit button, you will see 4 columns coming here. 4 columns are coming because only these 4 columns I have selected for validation rule. So I can say I want to downgrade all the 3 columns, first name, middle name and the last name column. And then I can give a downgrade percentage that I want to downgrade it by, for example, 50%. So like this, based on any specific column, you can downgrade any other column also. So this is usually part of, we can say, a group. Like if, for example, first name is coming as null, you can downgrade only the first name, or if first name is coming as null, you can downgrade first name, middle name, last name, all the columns. So that is again like by depending on the business requirement, we can do it like this. You can create it separately also, multiple rules, or in one rule also you can downgrade everything. So this is existence check. And one more thing to be noticed here is the dot here. If you see the column names, for all the column names you can see S dot is appended here. So this is like sometime might be asked, what is S dot, usually in the interview. So S basically represents a staging table. So validation rules are basically calculated when you run the load process, means loading the data from your staging table to the base object table. And validation rules are stored in a table. So you can go to the tables, we'll go to the tables and see. You can go to the tables and see like whether for a particular record validation has failed or not. So that's, these validation rules are stored at the table level. So this is existence check. Similarly, domain check is like an in operator. So in operator or a not in operator. So if we have some to check something like this, whether I want that it is in this or not in this, so I can add here some values like P2, just adding some values here, P and Q. So I can say like something, for example, name generation not in P and Q, I want to downgrade something. So that's a domain check. Similarly, if you click on any others, you will get to know what is the query basically. Like this is the referential integrity check, which is basically not exist operator. And then you have a pattern validation, which is a like and a not like operator. So if you have noticed here that every time I am going and selecting any validation rule, I can use only one check. Like here full name is null or first name is null, but I cannot use multiple checks. But there might be a requirement that I want to use 2 checks. Basically I want to use 2 conditions, that if first name is null and last name is null, then only I want to downgrade it. So if you have like that requirement where you want to check more than one condition, you can use a custom. So in the custom, you can type it here like s dot first name is null and s dot last name is null. So like this, I can type my own query. This is just a where condition. So you can type your own where conditions here in case you need like more than one check for downgrading a particular column. So these are the 5 types of validation rules. So that should be clear to you, like what are the validation rule and what it does basically. And based on any column, you can downgrade any other columns also. Based on a single, like where full name is null, I can downgrade multiple columns or I can downgrade a single column also. Plus one more option is there which we generally use is, this is always used, not generally, we can say reserve minimum trust option. So let's say like what reserve minimum trust does. So reserve minimum trust, what it does is, for example, I say I have created this, for example, condition like where full name is null, I want to downgrade it by 100%. Let's suppose like I am giving 100% for the first name. In this case, what will happen is the maximum value and the minimum value for the first name will go down to 0, 0. So usually we don't want it to go down to 0, 0 because we have specified a minimum value for every source system. So let me go to the trust again. So I'm here in the trust part, and in the trust, like I'm selecting the first name column. So for the first name column, for the sales system, suppose I have given a maximum trust of 70 and a minimum trust of 10. So I have put a validation rule that if first name is coming as null, downgrade it by 100%. So in this case, what will happen? Here nothing will happen. This is not a, in this part, whatever settings you have done 70, 10, this is not going to change. Just for that record which is coming as null, MDM will at runtime change the value to 0 and 0. But we usually don't want to make it 0, 0 because I have given a minimum value like 10, 20, 30. So I don't want a particular record to go beyond a minimum value. So that is what reserve minimum trust does. So if you have selected this option, reserve minimum trust, and you say that I want to downgrade by 100%. In this case, the maximum trust can go down only till 10. So maximum and minimum will become 10, 10 at runtime for only that particular record which is coming as null. So that's an option.
What happened if it will be 0?
Nothing will be happening as such because it is just like used when we are trying to merge the records or updates the record. So usually that option is there. So usually we select that option so that it doesn't go beyond like the minimum value which is specified because.
Well, you said it several times that we don't want to go beyond minimum value, but what is the reasoning for it? Like why don't?
Because probably there are many other source systems, like here we have these systems which are been listed here. So probably some systems might have a lesser value also. Might be like I have given here.
But
I have given
you have null. I mean there's a null came for this column.
Yeah.
How much worse it can be? I mean there's no.
No, that is correct. Usually there is no problem in giving this 100%, or means there is no, even if you don't select reserve minimum trust, there is no problem as such because it is not storing somewhere in the database or doing anything. Because usually all the minimum values, like here we have 10, 20 and 30, Even if we make 0, it is fine because it is giving a null value.
Well,
So you can just as a best practice, you can say we always select that value.
yeah, well, I
otherwise-
understand. I hear you, but I still there should be a reason. You said we don't want
Yeah.
we don't want to go beyond the minimum value. This is best practice, but why? What
Because-
happens if it will be 0%? Does it mean that we're not going to promote any values for this column, or what?
Yeah,
But
it
it's,
is.
it's already
it is-
known. It's
Basically,
already
see,
known, so-
we are downgrading it means by 100%. So obviously, will be the trust value will be 0 for that, and other source system value will have some higher value. So that will get promoted into the master record.
Right, but the other the value that came from another system has a value, and
Yes.
from this one it's null. So which one you will trust more? The one that brings the value, or the one that brings null?
Which brings the value? Because
Why?
because if it is, because that is the main,
What if
we don't,
what if the other system brings just garbage?
even if it is
What is
bringing
better? What is better, null or garbage?
garbage value.
Why?
You can say. Because
Why?
see, why? Because you don't know whether it is a garbage value or not. That is the main
Well, I
problem.
mean, we did validation. We found that it doesn't fit in our, valid parameters, and we know that it's a garbage. So
Because
why do we
we have-
trust garbage more than a null?
because later on you might have to correct it because we don't know which is the correct. Because see, usually, for example, if we talk about addresses, so once we take an address, usually we use like, for example, address doctor is there or Trivium is there, which we use for cleansing the addresses, because the addresses are very bad. So even if you use like all those tools, they are also not able to cleanse the address. Like in my last project, when we used address doctor for cleansing the addresses, you cleansed only like 65% of the addresses. Still, 35% of the addresses were a bad address. So we have to take the address, because now whatever is bad, I don't know what is bad in that. It might be like the postal code is wrong, it might be that city name is wrong, or the address might be completely wrong. So whatever is coming, I have to take it, because the user has given that. And now whatever you give me, I have to accept that this is the correct thing. If you give a garbage value also, I will take it. So because here we are, standardization you can do at the initial phase, but some things you cannot standardize because you don't know what is correct. For example, if you give me your address, if I ask you, okay, can you give me your address, you give me some address, I will say, okay, this is a good address. I don't know whether you have given me your correct address or you have given me your old address, or maybe you have given a wrong address. For me, that address is good. So whatever address is coming from the source system, I have to take it. So I should not take a null value. If any other source system is having some value, I should accept it. Later on, it is a business perspective. Business has to look into the data. If say that this is a bad data, that is not our problem. That is a business problem. That business has to look into the data and they need to correct it. So usually, like, see, if it is an organization data, still we can correct it, because, for example, organization, what like many data stewards do, for example, they will go to a website and they will see what is the address mentioned there and what is the address in their system. If the address is different, they can just copy paste and update it. So organization address, you can even correct it, but customer data, customer address, you cannot correct it, because you don't know customer is living in which address or what is the exact address of a customer. So any value coming, you have to take it. And later on, it is if the business says that this is wrong, they need to rectify that. They have to call that customer, or anyhow, that is their thing, that how they want to update the customer or how they want to correct it. So that's the thing. So
Well, it's,
data,
I hear you, but still, it's a little bit strange to me, because I'll tell you why. If you have a wrong address, for example, and you
Yeah.
take whatever comes through, and you say, well, even if it's not completely correct, we still take it, and we will send the mail to the person or organization. But the address is wrong, so the mailing would not come to wherever we send it to. So this is one scenario. Okay?
yeah, that,
So-
but that has to be done by the source system, not by the MDM. The MDM doesn't have that part that MDM has to correct the data. MDM like
Right,
can
but
only
but it's not able to correct it. It just takes
Yeah.
this garbage and it returns back to the source system, right? That's the
Yes.
whole idea of MDM. We are trying to clean up the data and match between different systems and find the good records. But if we don't, and we return the garbage back to the source system, then they will continue using it.
Yeah, means that they have to correct. Means see, MDM can only whatever data MDM is getting from different systems, using only those records, MDM can decide which value is good, which value is bad. So it will create a master record by using that thing only. So if it is wrong data, that we cannot help it out. That has to be corrected by the source system.
Well, that's why I'm saying that null value is probably better than the garbage, because what the meaning of a null, it's not a value, as you know, right? Null is not a value.
Yeah, that is correct. But usually we cannot store null because this data, for example, is consumed by the source. I have taken records from multiple systems and I have consolidated it, and I have created a master record out of that. So usually, like, the source systems also consume that data. So like just one scenario of my previous project that I worked, they had 3 systems which were maintaining organization data. So what their main purpose was, same consolidation of the data. So we were taking the data from all the systems, we consolidated it and created in the golden records in the MDM. Now one of the source system is trying to add a new customer. So they had a form where a lot of details has to be filled. So instead of filling the form, what they were doing is they were searching it into the MDM. Whether this organization is already present in MDM, maybe it was inserted by some different system. So they were taking the data. For example, they searched for an organization and they found out that this organization is inserted already by a different source. So they were pulling all the data, the customer data, the organization data, their address data, and other details which are stored in the MDM, and they were pulling that and inserting directly into their forms. After they inserted in the forms, they were looking into the data, what data they have, what data is there which has come from the MDM, and if they feel that something is wrong, because they have the latest data with them, they were modifying that, and they were saving it. So once they were saving it, it was again coming back to the MDM as a new source system record, and it was getting, once we run the match process, it was consolidating it and promoting everything into the master record. So it was correcting it.
Okay, let me ask you this. So you said that they review the data, they review this consolidated data, and if they feel that the data is not good, they do something with it. How do they know that the data is not good?
Because they have got a data from the business that this is a new customer with which I am going to deal. So they have all the details about them, the organization details, their address.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Okay, so you have a customer database, and you have information about hundreds of thousands of customers, and that you put through your master data management. It went through, it selected the records, consolidated, and spit off the result back to your system, right? Back to your source system, or source system pull it from master data management, whatever it's done. So now you have a new consolidated data, but still there's hundreds of thousands of customers has a bad data in it. How does the business will know that those customers, those hundreds of thousands of customers, have a bad address or bad whatever? How would they know?
See, addresses we can easily identify because usually we pass data through an, as I told, address doctor or Trillium. So they have some specific codes. So they will tell, based by looking at the code, we can easily identify that this is a bad address. So usually we inform them to the business that these are the bad addresses. So from whichever source we have got, we will identify them. Now that is their responsibility basically to correct the data, and that will come as an update into the MDM.
But my question was how would they know?
That is what.
Do they look?
That is a tool basically. If you use this address doctor, they give different codes like corrected code, validated code, or address is deliverable, address is postable. So they have like 20 codes. So
Well,
once
does the MDM help them
yeah.
to determine it, or do they look on the trust?
No, no, that is, I am talking about the cleansing part here. So this address Dr. Trillium is basically used for cleansing the data, address data. So once you pass the data, address data to them, they will cleanse the data. If something is wrong, they will try to correct it. But as I told, like they are just tool itself, they also cannot correct all the data. So they give their codes. So by looking at the code, you can easily identify that these data are or addresses are good addresses, these addresses are bad addresses. So that you can tell to the source system that your these many addresses, address doctor is not able to correct and has given that this is a bad address. So now that is their responsibility that these addresses are bad, so they have to correct the addresses.
Well, I thought you said that when the data is processed through MDM, depending on like validation we done and checking, if it's not so good, we decrease the trust, right, on specific columns. So does that
is like in other scenarios where we have, for example, some data is coming as null. So we should not promote null value. If any value is coming, we have to promote it. So null should not get promoted into the base object. That is the only thing. If I am getting any value, it might be a correct thing or it might not be a correct thing. That is not a concern from our side. If something is coming, we have to insert that into the master record. Because data is part of the business that has to be taken by the data stewards or the business analyst. As the MDM part, that is not our task. I can just correct the data, means I can use some tools to correct the data and standardize it. And if that is also not done, like as I told the address doctor, we usually inform it to the business. So now the business basically they have the responsibility of correcting the data. So once they update the addresses, that comes back to MDM as an update, and it will update the cross-reference and then the base object. So that updates will happen based on this trust and validation.
Okay, let's say you process the data through MDM, and because of let's say email address was not updated for the past 10 years, it decayed, and it's in the minimum, at the minimum. Now suddenly you have a new address, email address coming through.
Okay.
What will happen with the trust? Will it be upgraded?
No, whatever is the existing record, previously like we had record, like for example, once we load on the first day, so the trust will be like, for example, sales system. So the trust will be 70. And
this trust is for the whole system, right?
Yeah, whole system, but on a record level basis.
Right. This is the initial trust for each record that's coming from the system, right? But then
whenever a new update comes. Yeah, I understood your question. I'm saying that you told that you have loaded one record and it has come down. The trust has come down to the minimum. And now you are sending an update. Whenever you are sending an update, whatever the records which are coming as an update, that will have a highest trust of 70. Because you are sending an update on today's date. Maybe you have loaded the data 10 years back. And after 10 years, it is getting an update. So whenever, if I am sending an update today, for that particular record, the trust will be highest. So it will automatically get promoted into the master record because the existing record is already downgraded and everything is 10. Like the first name is, trust is 10 as of now. And I am sending an update for the first name after 10 years. So obviously it will have a trust value of 70 and the existing trust is 10. So it will get promoted into the master record.
Okay, so when it will be promoted, is this new trust will be assigned to it?
No, trust assigned in the sense I didn't got it.
Okay. What we are looking at right now is the trust that we assign to the whole system, right?
Yeah, correct.
So for any It's initial trust that we set up for the
Yeah,
system, for any record that's coming from it. Now, when
yeah,
we start processing, can I finish my question?
Yes.
When we process it, we are determining the trust for each field or each column that we are processing, right?
Yes, yes.
The one that we want, we want to determine the one we check for validation, right?
Yes.
So if the column, if this specific column decayed over the time, and the trust for that column became minimum, and now suddenly we have a new value coming in. So does it mean that the trust for this specific column will be upgraded to the maximum? And from that point on, it will have a high trust.
Yes, correct. If an update comes, the trust will be reset to the maximum value.
Okay, so it will be set for each column, right?
Yes, at each column, not for all the columns, only for that column for which I am getting an update.
For the one we do update and the one we do validation for, right?
Yeah, correct. So, for example, if you have all the things, but so like business is giving an update only for the first name. So, for only the first name, the trust will get reset to 70. But for other columns, middle name, last name, it will be same as it is. 10
Right,
only.
it will be whatever it was before, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why I like coming back to my previous question. Does the trust help to determine how reliable or how good the data is currently in MDM database?
Basically, it is depending on the validation also, because trust, like whenever you send an update or whenever you load a record, trust is always highest. So now it is depending on the validation rule. See, if there is no validation rule, whatever record is coming into the MDM, it will get promoted into the master record. But only because of validation rule, we say that no, there is a possibility that first name might be null or phone number might be less than 10 digits. So if something is coming like that, I should downgrade the trust of that source system. Why I want to downgrade? Because here, like CRM system is 80. So if CRM system is giving me first name value as null, but sales system is giving me some value. It can be any value. That is not a concern. So if it is giving value, I should take that value, not a null value. So that is why I have downgraded by such a percentage that, so for example, I can downgrade it by 20%. If I downgrade by 20%, automatically the sales value will get promoted into the master record.
Okay, so again, I repeat myself, it will be last time. So if we did the validation and based on this validation, we decreased the trust for a specific column, isn't it indication of that there is a problem with this specific column and that the business need to take a look at this specific column and find out like what's wrong with it?
Means that is what sometimes business will, if you, that is what I told you, that you have to look into the business data. So if you look into their forms using which they are entering the data, you see that the first name and the last name, there is no mandatory check. For the phone number also, there is no check that phone number has to be a 10-digit number. So you don't have that check. So maximum what you can recommend business, that can you make the first name and the last name column as mandatory in your source system, or can you make the phone number to be a mandatory 10-digit number? So you can recommend that. Usually business nowadays accept that, because business also want to correct the data, their source data. What if the business says that no, I cannot do it now, probably I will take it at a later point of time. So in this case, there is a possibility that you will be getting null value. Probably till now you might not have a null value, but tomorrow the person data entry operator who is entering the data might insert wrongly, or he might forget to enter the first name value. So you will get a null value for that column. So in case we are getting null, we should not take that null value. We should take the value from other source system.
Okay.
So that is the only reason.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so that's time. So we'll continue tomorrow. Tomorrow also we have a class. So tomorrow also we'll be discussing this validation rule, and we'll see, like I have already created, so we will discuss about this validation rule, what is this validation rule and what it will do. And we'll load the data in the tables, like the landing table. We'll load the data in the staging and the base object table, so that some of the records fails validation and some records don't fail validation. And then we'll see the validation tables. There are two validation tables which stores these failures, and that thing we will see. And we'll also see there is a data manager through which we can see what is the trust score after the validation downgrade and without validation downgrade. So these things we'll be covering tomorrow. Okay, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.